Welcome to the Business Jungle. I'm Alida Raubenheimer, and with me is renowned Christian business expert, author and public speaker Andre Diederichs. Andre has published 7 books and written over 1,000 articles about sound business principles, leadership and values. And for the next 10 weeks, we are going to delve into some of that wisdom with lessons from nature for the entrepreneur. Welcome, Andre.
Thank you, Alida. It's nice to be here.
Your acute sense of business and keen fascination with nature has captured and translated into practical lessons for the business world. Today, we're focusing on creating scarcity, and your analogy is based on the leopard.
That is correct, yes. It's a great analogy. So let me kickstart this and get going. Let me first make the remark, why is it important to create scarcity in business? It's important that people need to understand we live in what is called a global economy, and all it basically means is that trade barriers are disappearing between different countries, and more products and services are streaming into the South African market, and it creates what we call a surplus economy. There's too much of the same. Okay. And the trick in a surplus economy is to create scarcity in a era of plenty. And that lesson from nature comes clearly from the leopard. But let me just first explain the impact of the surplus economy so that people better understand. We have a trade agreement with China. There's 15 items they can export to South Africa. One of those items is textiles. That agreement has cost us 80,000 jobs in 1 year just in the textile industry. Okay. Now the question is why? Why can't we compete in that industry against China? The answer is simple. It's because of, first, your production costs or productivity. It starts with your labor costs. I did a presentation with a director of Toyota a number of years ago, and he used the numbers for the comparison. In that states the minimum wage in the motor industry in South Africa was 45 Rand an hour. And the minimum wage in India in that industry was 8 Rand an hour. Yeah. And in China, it was 3 Rand 50 an hour. Now, that should tell you the story. So if your cost of labor is lower, then your cost of your product is lower. We also know that the Chinese has got a strong work ethic, which means they work harder at a lower wage. So you can imagine what you end up with at the end of the day. What really blew my mind was the lady from Pepco that sat next to me in the plane when she came back from China, where she bought 1 million T-shirts for Pepco. But it's the unit price of those T-shirts that really blew my mind. She paid 44 cents per T-shirt. Now you can imagine you can't switch on your lights for 44 cents, to open your factory and all of that. So that is the world we need to compete in. What we need to understand is in business, you are either large enough to create the volumes, and then you can fight the price war. But most businesses sit on the other side. They are smaller. In South Africa, about 97% of businesses are classified as small or medium. They have to create scarcity. They can't fight a price war. Now, what does the leopard learn us about this surplus economy and how to create scarcity? It's simple. The leopard catches his prey, climbs up into the tree with its prey, where there is no animal rivalry. In other words, the leopard removes himself from a surplus economy. He does not operate in a surplus economy. In South Africa and Africa, we are guilty of surplus economies. For instance, the other day I drove at Hartbeespoort Dam, and as you go over the dam, you get to a corner of a street, and there you find all these African shops, 50 of them in a row, all selling the same thing. That is creating a surplus economy on the corner of a street. They can only barter and bargain. There's no ways they can differentiate themselves. So the trick is to differentiate yourself to create a unique selling proposition.
Okay, and that creates scarcity with it. Okay, but it's not an easy thing, especially in South Africa. Andre, now we understand the concept, but explain how to practically implement this in business.
Okay, I've seen a wonderful example of how you create scarcity a number of years ago when I was in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. I was walking around in a neighborhood called Kwai Hung, and I was looking for a camera, and I couldn't really find a cheaper camera in Hong Kong. And I was a bit fed up with Hong Kong because I thought everything is cheap in Hong Kong. It is not true. The next moment, while I was walking around there, I saw this shop. The shop is called Van der Merwe Electronics.
In Hong Kong?
Yeah, in Hong Kong. And it states Cape Town, and it states best price in Afrikaans. Okay. Now, this is weird.
It's totally weird, especially because it's not even written in Japanese or in Chinese. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was wondering, I better go and help this Obi because this Obi is lost. How can he be here in Kong speaking Afrikaans? This is not going to work. So I went to the shop and you have to go to the first floor and I met the owner. I was looking for Mr. van der Merwe, but there's no Mr. van der Merwe in that shop. So I started talking to the Chinaman and he told me the story. He said that more than 20 years ago, he saw a lot of South Africans coming into Hong Kong and he asked himself the question, what can I do to get him inside my shop? And then he started talking to the South Africans and he asked them, what is the most famous name in South Africa? And they told him Van der Merwe. It's clearly that it's been Boertjies that's been there with this Van der Merwe. I did a presentation on this in Durban the other day. And it was quite funny. There was a huge argument about this Van der Merwe because they claim it's either Dlamini or Naidoo. It can't be Van der Merwe. And anyway, the next thing he asked him was, what is the most beautiful place in South Africa? And they said, Cape Town. And I asked them, what is best price in your language? And they said, best price. And that became the name of his shop. And you must see how the Chinaman laughs when he tells you how many thousands of South Africans walks into his shop because you simply won't bypass that shop. Okay. As a South African, you won't.
Andre, how does this relate back to the biblical principles? Because you base everything within those values.
Yeah, it is very important to understand to create uniqueness in a business. The business can't think for itself. Only the people can. We were all created by God uniquely. Let's just first start with Genesis 1 verses 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. What does that mean? God is a creator. And if we were created in his image, it means that we are creative as well. We need to find that creativeness within ourselves. We were all born and made by God uniquely. Now, there's no better way of explaining this than Psalm 139. Just to take you a bit back to the Old Testament, in Jeremiah he states this as well. Jeremiah 1 verses 5 says, before I was formed and before you were born, I consecrated you. This is magic. There's another part in the Bible that it states that God knew you even before he created the earth. That is how magic this is. But people need to study Psalm 139, where it starts verses 1 and you can go through. You should actually read that whole psalm. But it basically states, O Jehovah, you have searched me and known me. You have closed me behind and in front, and your hand is laid on me. Now, this is beautiful that's coming here now. It says in verse 13, for you have possessed my inward parts. You wove me in the womb of my mother. And then this verse 14 states that I will thank you for which awesome ways I am distinguished. Mm-hmm. Now listen to the word. You are distinguished, you are different, you are unique. And that is what we need to remember. God created us to be unique. As we live life, we tend to conform to what we believe is right and wrong. In that process, we can easily lose ourselves. It's important that you find your will and your purpose for your life by spending time with God, to actually tap into and understand what is your uniqueness.
Wow, so much information. Thank you, Andre Diederichs, for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. And remember, listeners, if you have any questions or want to know more, go to andrediederichs.co.za. That's Andre Diederichs, one word, .co.za. Next week, we speak about ruling the business jungle and the lion's place.